Hello, everyone. As promised, we are going to look at the final ingress of Pluto into the sign Aquarius. And it is an interesting space-time moment. And as I said, it started with the full moon in Taurus, which was exactly conjunct Uranus. So actually, it heralded the changes that we are going to face. And of course, we are going to look back very, very briefly into the historical events that Pluto triggered the last time it was there. As you know, probably Pluto's orbital period is 250 years. So whenever an outer planet is changing signs, it's always very significant because it is kind of changing the flavor of the space-time moment, and because it stays usually for decades there, or at least for a couple of years. With Uranus, it's 7 years. With Neptune, it's 12 years. Pluto stays for about 22 years on average in a sign. But for instance, in Cancer and in Leo, it stayed more than 30 years, and on 11 or 12 years in its own sign, Scorpio. So it varies because it has a very elliptical orbit. But at the same time, for those decades, for those years, the space-time moment changes considerably. And if we look at the next year, 2025, a number of the outer planets are moving into the next sign, but then backwarding into the previous one. So there's again this swing, and I already said this in my previous video that what I'm feeling is this is not the end of the world, it's actually the beginning of a new world, but it's not yet completely there. It's when we go to the seaside early summer, and the air is already nice and warm, but the water is still a little bit chilly. So we go to the seaside and we put our feet into the water, testing it, how it feels. And if it's too chilly, then we don't go into the main body of the water. So this is what the outer planets do. They are testing the new energy. And of course, if you have to wait 250 years for another ingress, then you need to test it because it's always a little bit different. So even if you look back at the historical events of the previous period, it's never exactly the same. Let's take a look at the London chart of the final ingress. Hold on a second. And this is going to happen on November 19th at 2029, so 8:30 in London time. And as you can see, Leo is rising with Mars on the ascendant, and Pluto is spot on the descendant, signifying that there's going to be a huge transformation about either allies or open enemies. That's quite interesting. And Mars, of course, in the first house, rising, signifies that there's going to be some kind of fight. The title of this video is Revolutionary Transformation or Fundamental Social Makeover. Of course, both are valid for Pluto's final ingress in Aquarius and his traveling through this sign, because Pluto is the planet of transformation, and of course, Aquarius is the sign of revolutions, but also of social structures, and it could mean a complete makeover of these fundamental social structures. In the past 80 years, and especially in the 20th century, the nucleus of all human existence, the family, has been completely disrupted. It started with the two world wars, when the men went to fight and the women went to the factories to work there. So again, who had the problem of lack of family of parents? The children. So a whole generation, actually 2 generations, grew up without a father or a mother or both, and the fact how brilliant, how fundamental the family structure could be is something that we are no longer able to assess because we don't have it. We no longer have it. And the powers that be did this very, very consciously, because if you have a family, a strong family background, the family can do whatever is necessary. The family provides you with a fundamental structure by which you can overcome all kinds of difficulties. Family members are always helping each other. They used to help each other. Now, the humankind is atomized. Everyone is for themselves, and actually, even the advertisements go like, because you deserve it, because you are the one, because this is what you should do. So they emphasize, there's a huge emphasis on individuality and separation, and the fact that they are trying to push rainbow families. That's another thing, because again, it gives you a different social structure. It gives you a different role model. Okay, so those are the facts. What they, of course, why they want to do this, and this has always been with communists. If you go back and read the accounts of the communist parties and their ideology, and I come from a communist country because I lived half my life in communist Hungary, so I know how they work. I know how they think, and they always wanted to disrupt the family. Because if you disrupt the family and have only the individual, and that individual can be brainwashed, that individual can be manipulated, because it doesn't have the power of people being together and being on the same wavelength. And that is why they disrupt families. And also think about the fact that if you have individuals and you put them together in any kind of structure, the whole that is coming out of this putting together is always more than the individuals. And this is something that the powers that be don't want, because we are much stronger in these entities than separate. So that's what usually happens. And we will see how this pans out. But if we go back to the London chart, what you see is the nodal axis is on the MCIC angle, the North Node, which is still in Aries. So you still have to learn to fight. You still can learn to fight, and should actually, is in your future. Your future depends on how you are able to fight. And don't forget that the midheaven, as a Mars is the ruler of the midheaven, and is in the first house. So you will have a weapon for future struggles. And the South Node is on the IC with Vesta, the focusing principle, signifying that you need to focus on your roots and uncover whatever is there and whatever is important. The moon is in the 12th, very strong in Cancer, but hidden in your bank vault, conjunct the dark moon Lilith, which in the Lilith myth is the second turning point, the acceptance of the curse. So again, family is going to be cursed in the next 2 decades as well. And it's opposite Ceres, the nurturing principle. So again, this signifies to me that what they're trying to do is completely disrupt the natural way, natural ways of family and nation and all kinds of traditional entities, and show you something totally different. And there's this mixture of Mercury, asteroid-related Pallas Athena. Mercury is a little bit wide, but it is coming to the conjunction. Lilith is revolt against injustice. Pallas Athena is wisdom. These two will have a very important role in the January 1st chart, because the sun will be between them. And Mercury is, of course, understanding. It is opposite Gemini, Jupiter, which is also retrograde. So these are in mutual reception, but both in their detriment. And that's a very telling significance, because Mercury is everyday talk and gathering information bits by bits and pieces, while Jupiter is the big picture. Jupiter is synthesis of knowledge. But this Jupiter is very weak, retrograde and in Gemini, opposite Mercury, which rules it, but on the other hand, Jupiter also rules Mercury. So what you see here is that for the next 20 years, most probably, the scientists will continue to lie to us. To me, it's always funny how they tell us to follow the science and whatever scientists say is true. No, it's not true. Simply because if you have a finding, if you make a research into something and you find something that is against the mainstream, they demonize you, they disown you, they throw you out of your position. You're no longer able to publish your articles. So finally, when you are a scientist and you have a family or you want to make a living, you say, okay, fine. Okay, what do you want me to say? What kind of research do you want me to? So the powers that be order some researches, and those are being published. And the general public wants to understand that, yeah, this is the truth. It's not the truth. Everything is manipulated. And that the Mercury, Jupiter in mutual reception opposite each other signifies this, that there's going to be a contradiction between what people understand, know, and experience, and what the so-called science and so-called scientists want to push us on. Like, for instance, the farting of cows is more important and disruptive than whatever. Bullshit, of course. If you have two bits of memory and understanding and intelligence, you understand immediately that it is total manipulation of the facts. Of course, if you have a family behind you and you know how to talk to old people who still remember, and especially people in the country who are very, very close to nature, and you can ask them about things, you will understand how things work. And the so-called scientists won't have power over you. That is why they want to disrupt rural life. That is why they want to disrupt family life. It's very simple. Okay. Okay. What is also quite important is the Aries Hygeia conjunction. They are opposite forces because, of course, Aries is the more powerful one because it is a TNO, so it's a very slow-moving thing, and Hygeia is just a mere asteroid with an orbital period of 4 years. But still, the fact that they are in the 10th house signifies the fact that Aries means drastically altered outward circumstances. Look around, and this is what you see. While Hygeia is putting things in order. So the two opposing forces, how we can put things in order, how we can go back to the natural ways, the healthy ways, or as opposed to the disrupted, programmed chaos that they are trying to concoct for us, is clearly there for the next 20 years as well. Because actually Pluto will be in Aquarius until 2044. So imagine that's really a long time. So we are going to have to live with dear Pluto in Aquarius. We're going to look at what it actually happened, what actually happened 250 years ago. Not very nice, to say the least. And Juno and Australia are still there, so we need to rearrange, reconsider, and break old embedded karma regarding our alliances, pacts, and things like that. So those are the highlights of the London chart. You can actually relocate the space-time moment anywhere you live and see what's different. So what happened last when Pluto was Aquarius? Three main revolutions: the French Revolution, the American Revolution, and the Industrial Revolution. Let's take them apart a little bit. The French Revolution, which was between 1789 and 1794, was actually the worst, the most horrible, bloodiest civil war in history, where actually just in Vendée, 170,000 civilians were massacred. If you want to look at it up, look at you can actually take a history book and read what's there. They wanted to yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem with revolutionary communists. They want to see blood. They are really sadists, and the problem is that they are very weak and cowardly sadists. So they don't go out to fight on their own. No, they are in packs, and in pack when they are attacking in packs, they feel very strong. This is what happened in Brussels the other day. This is what always happens when there are like more than 5 of them. They feel very strong and they want to see blood. And that's what happened in during the French Revolution. Yes, of course, yeah, the people were poor. Yes, they didn't have anything to eat. And yes, Louis wanted to raise taxes. That's all true. But what triggered is really the bloodthirst. And whenever people are together and they want to fend their grievances, they want blood. And the problem is, what happened really was the killing of the aristocracy and the king. Up till then, the king was sacred. It was a sacred energy. And I'm a royalist by nature. So I think that when you have a king who is going to reign for 20, 30 years and has enough offspring who will continue his work, that's continuation. And this is a much better form of governance than democracy. When you have another party coming in 4 years and then another one, and all politicians are crooked and they don't have any perspective. They only concentrate on those 4 years and they want to rob everyone blind. So that's the problem with it. So that did away, the French Revolution did away with that. And again, a lot of civilians died. During the American Revolution, it we know that the death toll was quite high. In active military service, they estimate that there was a 25 to 70,000 people died there. And what happened was, this is a long story, and this is because this is the initial American myth. I'm not going to elaborate on it because I don't want to hurt the feelings of my American friends. But again, it's not what it looks like. And if you look at the historical facts, what happened, who were on the Mayflower, what happened in Massachusetts, what happened to the Indians later on, who helped them survive the first couple of winters actually, then you will get a very, very different story, because the American nation was founded in blood, and most new nations are founded in blood. So we have to acknowledge this, but it's not really a nice story. Anyhow, in the American Revolution, a new nation state emerged, the United States of America, which became later on an empire. And now this empire is a little bit crumbling. So quite interestingly, it's coming to an end. All empires are coming to an end, and they always implode from within, never from without. We will see. There is hope for the world now with this regime change in the States, and if Trump can pull off the demolition of the deep state, which is very strong, but it's also coming to an end by itself, simply because they are too crooked and too corrupt, and as I said, empires always implode from within. We will see. He's a henchman. He is someone who has the this is the task given to him. And don't get things wrong. I mean, there's a reason why he is there, always. Okay, and if Wall Street didn't want him to be there, he would not be there. So that's another thing. No American president can become a president without Wall Street. So another thing, this is something that I'm not going to elaborate because it's a big topic and it really doesn't have anything to do with astrology. So I'm just thinking a little bit loud. Anyhow, and then there was the Industrial Revolution, which is a funny thing, because that is when capitalism became the major ideology, and it became possible because they invented the steam engine. Before the steam engine, you needed large animals to move large objects and big heavy objects. And all of a sudden, you had the steam engine, you had steam boats and steam machines and all kinds of things. And yes, that is when capitalism could flourish. And the true capitalists think that you should work 24 hours a day and for nothing, for zero salary. That would be their feasibility, the best feasibility. The problem is that you would die within a week, of course, within a couple of days. So, of course, this is something that they couldn't do. What they did was they made people work for 14, 16 hours, children, okay, because they were cheaper labor, children and women, and they gave them very, very little money. So this gave rise to the socialist and communist movements. And of course, now then a new way of working class was established and a new sets of rules for how to do labor in big factories. But in the beginning, an estimated 35,000 people died in the factories because of the machines were not, because of safety failures and all kinds of things, and also because they were tired, because they were overworked, and 500,000 people were injured. Think about that. So these three events were not very nice, to say the least. They were not very happy. They were not very uh, not very decent from the viewpoint of humankind. Yeah, you can argue that the working class was liberated and poor people were liberated. There's a reason why you are poor. I keep saying this to people. Okay, if you are not industrious, if you are not knowledgeable, if you don't put enough energy and effort into something, you will remain poor. That's very, very simple. So if you want not to be poor, you need to put some energy and effort, and you need to learn. And it's not somebody else who's going to give you power. You can get power by knowledge and by being industrious and hardworking. That's the essence of success always. Okay, so those were the past, and uh, I don't say something similar will occur because nothing is always the same, and because in the meanwhile, by 2026, a number of the other outer planets, namely Uranus, Neptune, will move, and also Saturn will move into a different sign. So we will have a definitely different era by then. And the 2025 is this limbo year still. So a new world is birthing, but not yet being born. By 26, it will be born. There is a complex planetary picture around 23, 24 degrees, and the moon, which is at 20 degrees, is not really in it, although I do give the moon a larger orb, but for all kinds of configurations, I always allow only 2 degrees. So the moon is a little bit out of it. The moon will do something else. We will take a look at it in a minute. But this moon is highlighting. So whenever you see a tight configuration and one of the luminaries around 3-4 degrees apart, that luminary has the impact or has the role, the task to highlight the whole, to give it energy and highlight it. And this is exactly what the moon does here. So there's a cardinal T-square, the opposition between Ceres and the moon. Actually, it's not really the moon, it's the dark moon. Ceres and dark moon signify the struggle of families, how we look on families, and how, yeah, there is a huge attack on families. And as I said, it is because if you are isolated, if you are alone, you don't have the backup energy, you don't have the the drive that a family who wants to survive and who has children, and the children are going to be the future. If you don't have this perspective, they can do whatever they want to do with you. And this struggle will continue. And at the apex of the cardinal T-square is the Aries Hygeia conjunction. So actually, there is this struggle between putting things in order within the disruption. And as I said, this is programmed chaos. They do this because this is one way to occupy us and to police us. That's what they do. And actually, I can tell you now that there will be another pandemic in 2025 for sure. Whether this is the monkeypox, I don't know now. They're already talking about how dangerous it is, and you need to have a vax, of course. You need to have a jab for it, and only the vaccine that is the only remedy at the moment. So you need to be vaxxed. Yes, right, sure. Or something else they're concocting, we have no idea, but there will be another push on this. Very interesting to take a look at the WHO, who wants world power. if they can pull it off, they will be the first organization that they will have true power to say what you should do, how you should behave, and if not, you can be actually persecuted or incarcerated for it. So that's very, very dangerous. At the moment, I also signed a couple of petitions, so I'm also within the fight. At the moment, with Trump coming into the picture, they kind of withdrew, but they won't give up. And we will see whether or not Trump again will move the United States out of the WHO. That will be a very significant blow to them. But they will try. This Aries Hygiea conjunction suggests it very strongly. And this conjunction will be there in the New Year chart as well. So it's quite fascinating to watch what's going to happen. There's also a cardinal fire engine, as you probably know by now if you watch my videos. An engine, a configuration of engine, is made up by 3 distinctly different aspect family types: a square, a trine, and a quincunx. So you have the drive of the square, the blessing of the trine, and the karmic intent of the quincunx. And this gives it a huge push. And cardinal fire engines are very effective because you have the cardinal push and the transformative powers of the fire. So it's very, very good. And of course, the trine is between Pulse Athena Lilith, revolt against injustice in a wise way, and Aries Hygiea, the clash or the working together in how to put things in order in drastically altered or outer circumstances. You could actually translate the trine as like this. There's also a yod, a finger of fate, which I did not put there because it doesn't really matter where you look at it. But there's also, of course, the dissolved opposition with Uranus change, and as I said, this whole change, the era, this new era was signified by the Taurus new moon on Uranus. So that heralded the changes, the whole thing. And then 5 days later, we have Pluto. 4 days later, we have Pluto's ingress, final ingress. And there's also a dissolved opposition with Uranus. So you have a cardinal fire engine, a T-square, and the dissolved opposition, and the yod, a finger of fate, again with Uranus, and at the apex of which is the 2 strong women, 2 strong independent women. Okay. There's some transcendental celestial objects here. Again, if you, I just remind you that the color coding is important because asteroids, which denote the personal karmic level, are in magenta. Centors, TNOs, SDOs, so Kuiper belt object or trans-Neptunian objects, which denote karmic pain and suffering and wounds. And of course, they turn into either phobias or special traits. Those are blue. And the red ones are fixed stars, which are not on the human level because they're not part of the solar system. They are out there in the universe, and they represent healing worlds and special learning worlds for the soul, which is eternal and non-corporeal. As you probably know by now, a human soul is a multi-dimensional energy world or a light energy. Okay, on Uranus, you have Lempo and Algol. Lempo is a TNO, which is the tip god of the ex-tip god of the Finnish people, who is a creator god, but later in Christian times it was turned into a demon for, and this happens all the time. When you have a new era, you will have to demonize the previous gods and leaders. And Algol is Beta Perseus, which is a very strong feminine mystery school. Strong feminine, difficult feminine lives are being healed. Strong feminine are being trained here. On Ceres, you have Electra, proxy war, abundance, abundancia, which is abundance, and Arokot, a TNO that describes hidden things which are coming to light, which is what will happen in these 20 years. Pulse Athena Lilith has Tantalus, Tantalus is a horrible figure. He wants to impress the gods. He invites them for dinner and serves his own son them. So it's like, if you want to be part of the elite, you are actually willing to do horrible things, horrible things. That's what it signifies. And Sekhmet, which is the lion goddess of the Egyptians, Selene, which is the moon goddess, and Gumion, which is the Draco, a star in the mouth or the head of the celestial dragon. And the whole celestial dragon is keeping the treasure or protecting or creating, depending on which part it is. And because it's in the mouth, in the head, it is usually, it denotes hidden treasures or treasures being made that are mental or knowledge, linked to knowledge. On Aries Hygeia, you have Amenhotep dynasty, a pharaoh dynasty, and on Dark Moon you have Shiva with W, which is the Slavonic love goddess. So it's a form of Venus or Aphrodite, and Pollux, which is Beta Gemini, the Beta star, which is actually much brighter now than the Alpha star Castor, which is rapidly losing light. And Pollux denotes the suffering artist who cannot actually become prominent or famous. And as I said, the moon also makes a cardinal fire engine with Chiron and Mercury, which is again dissolved by the Jupiter Mercury opposition. And this mutual reception is very important in this particular chart, because actually it denotes how you are able to gather information and how the manipulation will fail. And it was really laughable to see how, what happens happened to the legacy media in the United States, how they were totally flabbergasted with Trump coming in. And a couple of them actually said, well, the people no longer believe us. We no longer are able to persuade the people to believe what we say. And that's what that showed how manipulative and devious they have been. And the people are waking up, because you know what? There's so many pieces of information flying around. And actually, here we come to the point which is really important. If you have a nice family background, and those have the old people as well, who live through ages, who live through decades, who live through a couple of changes, and have a tradition that runs in the family. So the child or the young person can ask them. And of course, if they honor them, well, the better. The problem is now you are a boomer if you are past 60 and you are no good and you're just ruining the planet. And that again is because this is what they want you to believe, the young people, because in this way they can disregard the old people, even do away with the old people. But within a family, the tradition is important. The young people went to the old people for advice. Now, of course, they don't want the family to live on. They want individuals isolated from the rest of each other with no roots. And in this way, they can be manipulated. So that's what it is. But at the same time, we know how to gather knowledge. We can pay attention to facts. We can ask questions, and we can look behind the curtain, the smoke screen of false ideologies, false scientists. So the cardinal fire engine is between Chiron, Mercury, and the moon. Chiron moon square again means that here the greatest attack will be on traditional families, nation states, anything traditionally there. And the Chiron Mercury trine suggests that we can ask questions, we can actually look into the things. If you look at the transcendental celestial objects, they completely back up this notion. On the moon, you have Philosophia, Bienor, and Castor. Philosophia, of course, is philosophy. Go back and read those. Bienor is one of the centaurs that are interesting, because if you look at the centaur, it's half animal, half human. And a certain centaurs, according to Metamorphosis by Ovid, want to escape this animal instinctual low-level meaning, and they strive for more. And Bianor is one of them. Bianor wants to believe in himself and wants to believe in his own achievements. So this is one of those striving centaurs. And then if you look at the moon as the people, that's what we should do. We should actually elevate ourselves. And then of course Castor is Alpha Gemini, so the successful artist. So we could actually become very successful in the whole process. On Jupiter, you have Tutankhamun, who is an interesting figure in the Egyptian history. He is actually the fifth Amenhotep, because the fourth Amenhotep the fourth becomes Akhenaten, and his son is Tutankhamun, who is actually being killed at the age of 17, and then the priests of Amun are setting back the old rules. So when something is created out of new, they wanted to have a monotheism, the worship of the Aten, the sun disk, and then the old power comes back and restores everything. So that's on Jupiter. And on Mercury, you have fantasy, Ginevra, who is the wife of Arthur, Plotinus and Marcus Aurelius, two philosophers. Marcus Aurelius is also an emperor, a philosopher emperor, and Khufu, another pharaoh. So men in power. And on Chiron, you have Demeter, who is the Greek counterpart of Ceres, so the nurturing principle. And this also shows how they want to do away with agriculture. Yes, industrial agriculture has very, very horrible results if we look at the soil. But at the same time, you need to feed large amounts of people. And what they want to do is to feed us with insects. And that is a horrible thing to do, because it has all kinds of negative impacts you will see if you are willing to eat insects. And then Fortune, of course, is Fortune, the goddess of fortune. There's also a Thor's hammer in the London chart. Actually, it's there everywhere, but I was trying to find configurations, and this is a bit wide for my taste, but it's still there, so why not? And again, the main protagonist is Uranus at the apex of a Thor's hammer is not a nice configuration. It only has squares and one square and two sesquiquadrates. But actually, one of the sesquiquadrates, in this case, will always be in harmonious elements. Here, Venus, Uranus is in both in Earth. So this is a sesquiquadrate that has a trine element in them. And again, the focus is on change. On Uranus, you have Lempo, again, and we saw this already. On Vesta, you have Arthur, Gaia, Nemesis, Makemake, and Vindomeatrix. So you have three asteroids, one centaur, actually it's the TNO, and a fixed star. Arthur, we have Guinevere's husband as well, so the Night King. Gaia, the Earth Mother. This is the things we need to focus. Nemesis, which is the punisher of hubris. And hubris is the revolt against the power of the gods. So that's quite fascinating. Makemake, which is in karmic astrology denotes as broken soul structure, where you have soul particles flying away, and then you need to kind of call them back. So restoring the soul, the human soul, into whole. And Vindomeatrix is I think the delta or epsilon star of Virgo. It's the other hand of the Virgo. The alpha star is Spica, which holds the wheat shaft. So it's the life-giving, nurturing hand. And then you have Vindomeatrix, which is the fruit-picking hand. So it's life's pleasures, earthly pleasures. Let's put it this way. That is on Vesta. Let's focus on those things. Vesta is the focusing principle. And on Venus, you have Icarus and Quaoar. Icarus is the son of probably the main or the best or the most famous inventor in Greek history, and they want to escape Crete, and he is being warned not to go too high, but he feels so exhilarated by flying, by able to fly, that he goes very high up. The sun is melting the wax that is holding together the feathers, and he crashes to his death into the ocean. And this is a hubris asteroid. When you do stuff, when you don't pay attention to the consequences, you soar too high and you fall to your death. So that's it. But Quawar is a TNO that denotes one of my favorite TNOs, because it denotes creation through dance and singing. So it's creation through artistic endeavors. So that's also linked to Venus, which is quite nice. Okay. And by the way, the square between, hold on, where am I? The square between Venus and Vesta. It's interesting because that's a cardinal square again, and this is focusing on money or harmony issues. That is where the clash is going to be in the next 20 years. Okay, here's an archer, and there are two types of archer. It's always linked to the Quindecile, which is 165 degrees. In this case, we have a trine and a semi-square, 45 degrees. And the other one, I think we have another one. Hold on one second. No, we don't have it in here. In the Budapest chart, there was another one, which was actually Quindecile, 165, a sextile, and a sesquiquadrate. So the fact is that you need something that has a either 45 degree or 135 degree, because that is how you can get the energy there. So what is an archer? An archer is the Wunderwaffe, the atomic bomb of ancient history, because you were able to shoot someone to death from far away, so that you didn't have to be there and fight for your life. And that's an archer. When you actually, what you need strength in order to draw the string, and then to have a very good eyesight, and then you aim and you get there. So that's what the archer is about, and it's between the Sun, Vesta, and Neptune. Of course, the Sun Neptune trine is brilliant. I'm very very happy to see this, because it simply means that there is this harmony in water signs for the next 20 years. It signifies that we can actually be very insightful if we use our either imagination or transcendental knowledge or transcendental abilities. And then Vesta, the focusing principle, adds a shape to this, adds focus on this. On the Sun, you have Taureau, the fighter, Deukalion and Ceto, two TNOs. Deukalion in Greek mythology is Prometheus, his son. And when Zeus decides to kill off mankind with a huge flood, he and his wife survive. They are the survivors. They are the chosen ones who survive. So actually, Deukalion I'm very happy that it's there, because it means that we will survive as a whole, and there's a potential to be chosen to survive. But of course, Ceto is toxic emotions, so toxic emotions will be flying around for the next 20 years as well. On Neptune, we have astronomia. So learn your astrology. You will need it. You will need the science of the stars. And on Vesta, you will have Arthur. Here's the Night King. Gaia, Mother Earth. Nemesis, the punisher of hubris. Make me get Winterbeers. We looked at those already in detail, so I'm not going to elaborate it again. What's interesting in this particular chart is that we have 3 personal planets in out of bounds. Here's the celestial equator, and this is the northernmost point of the star of the sun, and this is the southernmost point. So these are the 2 solstice points, 23 degrees and 26 minutes from east or west of the celestial equator. I put the red line here, and as you can see, the moon is very out of bounds, 26 degrees 45 to the north, and Mercury and Venus are at 25 each to the south. So you have two two different hemispheres, but still very, very out of bounds. And whenever you see an out of bounds planet in karmic astrology, it denotes that there was an extreme pain. And so the archetype just grew out of the normal, ordinary human existence and went into a universal level out there into the black universe, so to speak. The moon, of course, is nurturing, mothering your soul, your spiritual essence, your emotions, and the family. Mercury denotes knowledge and also the child. It's a child archetype. And Venus is love and money. So actually, the three most important stuff in human existence: your well-being and your resources, Venus, and the mother-child energy, the family energy, are out of bounds. And those are the ones that will have the universal knowledge, but it was born in pain. You have to understand that. I also always look at anything at 0 degrees, especially centaurs. I didn't pay attention now to the asteroids, but centaurs, which are very slow-moving objects, especially the TNOs. So these are centaurs and TNOs. Actually, it's just like the label we use in karmic astrology for all trans-Neptunian centaurs. Simply, I know we call centaurs only which are orbiting in the inner Kuiper belt. And the rest is either TNOs or SDOs or Plutinos or ETNOs. So you have all kinds of labels, which are all valid, of course, but just for the sake of something easy, I use centaurs. But of course, most of them here, except for Aureus and Pelion and Crantor, okay, most of them are TNOs actually. So what is at 0 degrees? Well, not very happy, because there's not a cardinal, a mutable T-square with Sedna, which has Pelion and more somnus on it. Pelion is the mountain of life that you need to climb, and also the home, which we need to rearrange, because Sedna is creation through dissection, and more somnus, which is very prominent during the pandemic. And again, it's prominent. And that is why I have a suspicion that we will have some planned pandemics in these next 20 years. That is why the WHO wants full power over us. And this is one way to establish some sort of world government. So that's very, very dangerous, I think. Crantor is to be at the wrong place at the wrong time and suffer from it. And Sina Nunam, which denotes the sky and the earth. So the dichotomy between down here and up there. And this T-square is kind of dissolved by Pluto, but it has Aureus. So Pluto at the moment is conjunct Aureus. And according to Ovid's Metamorphosis, Aureus is a bear centaur, half bear, half man. He has a brother, and they tear apart people, really a nasty creature. But he cannot be really punished by Zeus. Zeus wants to punish them, wants to execute them, but he can't do it because these are the brothers are the great grandsons of Ares, the warlords. So it usually the Aureus denotes mitigated punishment, when you are not being punished because of who you are. So it's still continuing. The establishment, the deep state, the elite is not being punished for what they do. And I also looked at whatever is there at 29 degrees. A couple of centaur TNOs are actually dissociate. They are anoretic, and so they dissociate. Their aspects are some parts dissociate. And what I did was I highlighted with a stronger line the ones that the aspects that are not dissociate. So, for instance, the Sedna Pluto Trine, which is recreating, transforming things that are not working in your life. Sedna means creation through dissection. Pluto means transformation. This is a beautiful trine. It will be exact in once more in 2025, and this is one of the redeeming factors of next year. It is already within orb and also within energy now, so it's quite okay. I liked it. Also, you have an energetic trine between Sato and Borasisi. Borasisi is another, it's actually a tyrant, the tyrant centaur, and Borasisi and Sato is toxic emotions. So that's a water trine, but energetic. The sextile between Kagara and Sato are also energetic and there energetically. Kagara is an African mythological figure, and he tries to, with his brother-in-law together, they try to rescue his wife, and for that he summons the powers of nature. So the summoning of the powers of nature is Kagara. And the trine between Sedna and Kagara is really a square because it has a square energy because Gemini and Virgo. The trine between Pluto and Kagara is really a quincunx energy, Virgo and Aquarius. The Sato-Pluto sextile is rather a square, really. It's a fixed square, Scorpio and Aquarius. The Borasisi-Pluto sextile is a semi-sextile, Pisces and Aquarius. And what else? Something else here. Anyhow, so you can actually take a look at these because they are very, very tight. They are within 1 degree, but they won't work the same way as if they were not dissociate. It's I think quite important. So that's the space-time moment. As you can see, every time we see celestial objects at 29 degrees, it signifies a stalled moment. It signifies the inertia, something that I can't go ahead. I'm stalled. I don't have either the energy or the will or just the stamina to move forward. So that's what it is. But at the same time, Pluto now moved into Aquarius for good. We are into a new era, and we will have to make the best of it. And I hope we will be able to do it. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.